Broadcasting live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Here's your host, Andrew Romanella.
Okay? Just get the hell out of here. Nobody cares what you think if you're not a Mets fan.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another edition of The Rome Show, broadcasting live on YouTube, Twitter X, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm your host, Andrew Romanella. We got you for the next 25 or 30 minutes, and we are talking bad New York sports. The Mets, they are on a 11-game losing streak right now that they try and end tonight as they host the Minnesota Twins. Yesterday, the New York Knickerbockers did their best 1990s Knicks impression and lost a game they were leading heading into the fourth quarter by 12 or more for the first time in 45 tries. We'll talk about that. Plus, so much more. You want to get in on the action? YouTube.com/the Romanellas. That's YouTube.com/the Romanellas. Head to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, follow us. So important for the show. Twitter X and Instagram, The Rome Show 1. That's Twitter X and Instagram, The Rome Show. Then the number 1, Facebook.com/The Rome Show. We are starting in Queens, New York, because this has been a story for the last week or so. Last offseason, the New York Mets, who spend the second most amount of money in Major League Baseball on their roster, over $300 million spent in each of the last 2 seasons, currently sit with the worst record in Major League Baseball at 7-15. On top of that, on top of having the worst record in Major League Baseball, they've lost 11 straight and are now reeling to the point of, is it getting late early for the Metropolitans? They are at 7-15. The Atlanta Braves are 16-7 at the top of their division. The Rockies, 2 games better than the New York Metropolitans. The Los Angeles Angels, 4 games better. The Chicago White Sox, 1 game better. And the Kansas City Royals, after their loss last night, who have lost 8 in a row, are a half game worse. That's not company you want to be in, ladies and gentlemen. Here are some of the numbers on why the Metropolitans are so bad right now. First and foremost, they cannot score runs. They are worst in the league in runs scored at 72. They also have a differential at -25. That is good for bottom 5 in the league. Look no further than the runs you're scoring and the runs you're giving up. Well, the runs we're scoring are few and far between. Why, you might ask? Because currently the Mets are 23rd in the league in batting average at .226. They are 29th in the league in runs batted in at 68. They are 29th in the league in slugging percentage at .336. And they are last in arguably the most important stat in Major League Baseball, and that is on base percentage. They are 30th of 30 teams with a .288 on base percentage. To keep it nice and simple for the people, a .288 on base percentage means that players on this team are getting on base only 28% of the time. So 72% of the time In the 22 games that the New York Metropolitans have had, 72% of the time, there's nobody on base. Think about that. 72% of the time that a pitcher is facing the offense for the Mets, there's nobody on base. And it starts, go no further than your supposed to be best player alongside Juan Soto. The Juan Soto injury doesn't help. He's only at 30 at-bats this year. He hasn't played during this entire streak. You lose a major bat like that, things are not going to be great. But Francisco Lindor, in my opinion, is the biggest problem right now. We've talked about him as a clubhouse leader. We've talked about him as somebody that can galvanize the troops, that can get the locker room right, and how he's not that. It hasn't been going that way. It doesn't look like it's trending that way. And then on top of that, you have Francisco Lindor having the worst season of his professional baseball career. This is a player that is a career 270 hitter. This is a player that has 6 seasons of the 11 he's played in Major League Baseball where he hit over 30 homers. This is a player that you brought in here to be the best player on your team. And he's hitting 205 with 1 home run and 1 RBI. Your best player, your starting shortstop, the guy that 3.5 years ago you signed to build this thing around, is hitting 205 with 1 home run and 1 RBI. And on top of that, is playing arguably the worst defense he has in the entirety of his career. It's the trifecta right now for Francisco Lindor. He's bad at the dish, he's bad on defense, and by all accounts, he's also really not a great leader. Those situations are a recipe for disaster. I'm not going to hit the panic button at the highest level of the panic button, but I'm going to be honest with the people. This team is bad. They're not good, especially on offense. How do you fix it? Fire the head coach. Fire the manager, whatever you want to call the guy. Fire him. Fire the hitting coach. Let's revamp this thing, because clearly Carlos Mendoza doesn't have the juice to get the boys right. Like, this is not a 2026 thing, okay? This team majorly collapsed in the last 2 months of the season last year to give the Cincinnati Reds that final wild card spot. This is not a 2026 issue. This is a foundational pieces of the organization issue. Your manager is not good enough. Let's get out of this. Your shortstop right now is not good enough. What do we do with that? Your best player that you signed last year to $100 million had an first year and is now not healthy in his second year. Your young players are not doing what you thought they would do. This is a recipe for some serious disaster. And I think you've hit the point now. If you're Stearns, if you're a Mets fan, if you're in that front office, whoever you are, where it's most likely time to just blow the damn thing up. Just blow it the hell up. Over the next 40 games, blow the crap out of this thing, start trading pieces, get whatever the hell you can back, and start to transition into the next phase of the New York Metropolitans. Because this is a franchise, okay? This is a franchise that has never gone to the playoffs back-to-back in the history of the franchise. That should tell you something. That should tell you something. I found this stat from Jeff Passan. Now, this is when they had lost 10 straight. The losing streak's now at 11. 4 teams in MLB history have lost 10 or more games in a row and made the playoffs. The last was last year's Cleveland Guardians, okay? Only one of those teams had a skid in April and still made the postseason. And that was the 1951 Giants, who lost 11 straight. So that was put out the day that the Mets were going for not losing 11 straight, and they have now since lost 11 straight. So you're talking about four teams that have lost 10 or more in a row in the history of Major League Baseball that have made the postseason. So why is it so apparent that we start making moves? Because you are on the precipice of the wrong side of that stat. It might only be 22 games in of a 162 game season, but there are not many, as we've learned, baseball teams that can be that bad for that type of a stretch and somehow flip a switch and be good enough to make it to the postseason. For reference point, and I see Meg wrote in, let's go Yankees. The Yankees, the last time the New York Yankees lost more than 10 in a row was like 1913. It's been over like 100 years since the New York Yankees have entertained losing double-digit games in a row. And I've always said this. Yeah, 1913 and 2026, that's 113 years. Of course, things change. But no matter what, in that 113 years, there's been a consistency of winning inside that Yankees building that has allowed them to be a consistent playoff contender, that has allowed them to compete and win championships that the Metropolitans are not finding. And other teams too, but the Mets cannot find it. There's a consistency valve that doesn't exist inside that franchise, and this is why it is blow-up time. Just blow the whole damn thing up. Get rid of anyone that's been there for beyond the last 5 years. Just get rid of everybody. Because at what point is it just the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over, expecting a different result, but getting the exact same result. We have an interview exclusive coming your way tomorrow that I think you need to tune into. Speaking of not just expecting the results, if you follow the Rome Show 1 on Twitter, X, or Instagram, you would have seen the clip we put out yesterday of this fine gentleman, Jimmy Robertson, who is the offensive coordinator for Monmouth University football. Each of the last 2 seasons, the Monmouth University Hawks have had a top 5 scoring offense in the league, averaging over 40 points a game. Jimmy's brother was the quarterback of Monmouth football for the last 2 seasons, an All-American, and currently is a potential late round draft pick in this week's NFL draft. So we sat down with Jimmy yesterday and talked about the NFL draft, talked about his brother, talked about Monmouth University football, and so much more. This interview is going to air tomorrow morning during our 7:15 show slot, because I don't believe you should wait any longer to hear this information. You're going to get insight into this Thursday's draft. You're going to get insight into the NFL draft process, which is really cool. You'll get some insight into a Division I football program, what an offensive coordinator does at that level, and so much more. I need you to set your calendars for tomorrow, 7:15 a.m. If you're following the show on YouTube, Twitter, X, or Instagram, it'll be really easy to find it. 7:15 tomorrow morning. Offensive coordinator for Monmouth University football, Jimmy Robertson. I'm excited for the people to hear that one. Speaking of the NFL draft, it's coming up on Thursday. We will reserve our Thursday morning show for our NFL draft analysis. However, here is your most updated draft status. Now, if you are a New York sports fan, specifically a New York football fan, you're going to notice that the Jets and the Giants hold 4 of the top 16 picks in the NFL draft. 25% of the first 16 picks in the draft on Thursday will go to either the New York Jets or the New York Giants. Jim Harbaugh, in his time in Baltimore, drafted in the top 10 one time in 18 years. He has 2 top 10 picks with the New York Giants at 5 and 10 in Thursday's draft. So get ready with Coach Robertson tomorrow on the Rome Show, and then get ready with the Rome Show on Thursday as we give you our draft breakdown. I'm not a big draft person from the standpoint of, I gotta watch it. I gotta invest in mock drafts. I'm not that type of person. I do understand, however, how the National Football League draft is significantly different than any other league. In the National Football League, kind of like the NBA. However, the depth of the NBA draft is not there yet, where the depth of the NFL draft is there. You're drafting players in the second, third, and fourth round that you believe can actually help your franchise. You're drafting players in the NFL that you expect to help you literally right away. Right away, you expect those players to help you. Whereas in the MLB, they're going to go to the minor leagues first. National Hockey League, for the most part, unless you're Martone from the Philadelphia Flyers, you're going to the minor leagues first. Same thing in the NBA. You're not necessarily going to the G League, but unless you're a top 5, top 10 pick, the playing time is a little bit fewer and far between. But in the National Football League, especially these first round picks, they are expected to play and produce right away. So having multiple in the first round can become gigantic. Meg has been mock drafting for 6 weeks. Meg, shoot us in one of your mock drafts. I'd love to see it. By the way, if you want to get in on the action, just like Meg, I'll show you on the screen. Head to youtube.com/the Romanellas. If you subscribe or follow on YouTube, even if you're just watching the show, you can comment live on the YouTube and it'll slide right up on our backside, and we can get the comment on the show, or we can have a nice discussion about the things that you think are stupid coming out of my mouth, or vice versa. And you can just solely support my genius sports takes. You know, it's a genius sports take for the people heading to figtreegolf.com. That's right. Get yourself right for this year's golf season by heading to figtreegolf.com, the primary sponsor of the Rome Show. Figtreegolf.com, promo code Andrew Romanella at checkout. That'll give you 15% off all the latest hats, polos, golf gloves, you name it. Fig Tree Golf has it, and all they're trying to do is reaffirm your faith and reaffirm your love for the game of golf. You head to figtreegolf.com, use promo code Andrew Romanella at checkout, and get yourself right for this year's golf season. Back after this, the Rome Show.
What is one thing every great leader has in common? They challenge their people to not stop at the first right answer. Tighten the Lug Nuts is a leadership book that will teach you how to move past the first right answer with entertaining and detailed examples founded in real-world concepts and experiences. Accelerate towards your professional goals with Tighten the Lug Nuts, one of the best leadership books available.
Welcome back in to the Rome Show on a Tuesday, April 21st, 7:36, state of New Jersey. Getting you ready for the rest of your day. And hopefully bringing you some good vibes on this Tuesday morning. YouTube.com/The Romanellas, Twitter X, Instagram, The Rome Show 1, Facebook.com/The Rome Show, The Rome Show podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Just hit follow, hit subscribe, hit whatever. Just support the show. For me, we had National Basketball Association games last night. We had National Hockey League games last night. We had the New York Knicks doing their best impression of 20 plus years ago in a fourth quarter collapse that reminds everybody of what it looked like when they were playing the Pacers. 47 times in the history of Knicks basketball have the New York Knicks led by 12 or more points heading into the fourth quarter. Twice the Knicks have lost. One of those was Reggie Miller's infamous choke game, where the New York Knicks gave up what felt like a flurry of points in 12 seconds to Reggie Miller, who stunned the Garden faithful and gave the Indiana Pacers a gigantic victory. Well, yesterday, doing his best Reggie Miller impression, CJ McCollum brought the Raptors back from 91-79 to a 107-106 victory. And it does not matter which iteration of the New York Knicks is out there. That was a terrible collapse. And here's my problem with this. Okay. It's a multitude of things. Okay. But my biggest problem with it is the sense of urgency, from Mike Brown and the New York Knicks coaching staff. You start the fourth quarter without Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns on the floor. Okay. I got it. That's fine. You want to give those guys some break? Since you have a 12-point lead, and you should have enough players on the floor that for a few minutes you can give those guys a break. But you're coming off the end of the third quarter, you're coming off the commercial break, and you're about to try at home to go up 2-0 in a playoff series. This is not time to give guys a break. This is not time for guys to rest. And in the first 2 minutes of that fourth quarter, the Atlanta Hawks cut the lead to single digits. And then I believe it was OG Anunoby hits a three to put the Knicks back up by 9. At some point, with about 7:58 left, there was finally a timeout where the Knicks brought Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns back onto the floor. Now, here is my second issue. And this might not be a Mike Brown thing. The changing of the head coach really, I don't think did anything for this franchise. Why? Because all I did was watch Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns play their two-man game. No creative offensive sets, no creative offensive plays. Defend the pick and roll, then just defend Jalen Brunson with the ball in his hand, and it's pretty easy to hold this New York Knicks team down in the fourth quarter. I mean, it was 105-103, and the defender on Jalen Brunson was like, yo, dude, like, you're going to shoot the basketball, so I'm just going to stay in your grill this whole time. Jalen Brunson turns the ball over. The Hawks come back. They slam it down the hoop. Now they're up by 4 with 10 seconds left. Come out that timeout. Jalen Brunson hits a three, but now you're down by 1. And the rest is history. But my biggest problem with it is the lack of urgency from the coaching staff to get your two best players on the floor to start the fourth quarter. Like, I don't care about the rest, man. I don't care. It's a playoff basketball, bro. This is playoff basketball. If your second unit is not doing enough to, in the start of the fourth quarter, secure the momentum to secure the game, you have to get your starters in there. And by the way, I don't understand. Is it just me? Maybe I'm the idiot. Please let me know. But you cannot play just ISO basketball. You can't do it. We can't just clear everybody out and let Jalen Brunson do a dribbling expedition. No, it's 2026. This is not a sustainable way to play offense. So if you're a Knicks fan, I am not trying to be, wow, everything is all lost. This is brutal. Because I've always believed the Knicks have a chance to win a championship. However, What I saw last night, I'm over it now. Like, it literally, all it took was that 12 minutes in the fourth quarter to see how poor of a coaching job the staff for the Knicks did, how poor of an offensive scheme this team has, and how soft they are. It's soft. Any team that gives up that type of lead in the fourth quarter, the way they gave it up, is not battle tested for a championship. Mark my words now. Do not be surprised now if the Knicks lose this series in 6 or 7 games. Seriously, don't be surprised. Do not be surprised, because what I saw last night was not a team that truly looks good enough to win a championship. And I felt the same way about the Detroit Pistons the other night too, who lost game 1 to the Magic. Detroit, 1 seed, Knicks, 3 seed, have given me no hope in their first 2 games in round 1. Boston, however, continues to give me hope that they are the best team in the East, and they should be the title contender in the Eastern Conference. Other games last night, just so you hear them, the Denver Nuggets, they lost to the Timberwolves. They outscored by 8 points in the fourth quarter for a 119-114 loss. And the Cavaliers, they took a 2-0 series lead on the Raptors, 115-105. Donovan Mitchell feeling it in that game, 30 points and 7 rebounds. In the National Hockey League, dude, the Philadelphia Flyers, they took a 2-0 series lead with a 3-0 blanking of the Pittsburgh Penguins last night. Dan Vladar standing on his head, 27 saves for the shutout. And how about the rookie, dude? Porter Martone. Guy was playing college hockey less than a month ago. Now he's got 2 goals in his first 2 career off games, like the youngest dude ever to do that. Guy's 19 years old, scoring goals in the postseason. Flyers up 2-0 in the Battle of Pennsylvania. The Stars, they even the series against the Wild. They make it 4-2. Jake Ottinger, way better day. 28 saves in between the pipes for the Stars. The Hurricanes, they get a 2-0 series lead off of a 3-2 overtime winner by Jordan Martinook. This game was 2-0 Carolina. Midway through the second period, the Senators finally got off the schneid after 4.5 periods of not scoring a goal. They score 2 quick ones in the second period. Both teams go scoreless in the third, and Martinook gives them the game winner in Carolina. They take a 2-0 series lead to Ottawa. And the Oilers, they get a come-from-behind victory, down 3-2 in the third. They score 2 to defeat Ducks 4-3. Big news here. Tristan Jarry, Connor Ingram, the starting goaltender for the Oilers, 25 saves on 28 shots. Watch. The Oilers barely making it into the playoffs this year comparative to the last few years. Not a lot of hype around them. This is going to be the year. Watch. This is going to be the year. They trade their goalie. Not great. This will be the year. Watch. They're going to make it to the Stanley Cup, and they're going to win it all. It's just wild how hockey is. Meg writes in, only problem with winning the Super Bowl is you get the 32nd pick. Yeah. You know what, Meg? Got to be honest with you there. I would take the 32nd pick in the draft every day and twice on Sunday to watch my team win a Super Bowl. We are talking about me rooting for a team that won their only Super Bowl 18 years prior to me even being a human being on the face of this earth. We are talking about my baseball team not having won a World Series since 4 years before I was a being on the face of this earth. My hockey team, they gave me some love, 95, 2000, 2003, but it's been 23 years since I've witnessed my hockey team. I haven't even hit puberty yet. My adulthood has brought me 0 championships. So for me, Meg, you can give me the 32nd pick in the draft all day, every day, twice on Sunday, so I could get myself a Super Bowl ring. God, I would love that. Real quick, before we get out of here, some other news and notes. Edwin Diaz to have elbow surgery. So He will be out for about half, if not more, of the season for the Los Angeles Dodgers. That is not a good thing. Victor Wembanyama, he wins Defensive Player of the Year. Congratulations to Wemby. Wembanyama becomes the first player in the history of the National Basketball Association to win unanimously the Defensive Player of the Year award. Wemby received 100 of 100 first place votes at 22 years old. He is the youngest Defensive Player of the Year award winner in the history of the NBA. By the way, he had 197 blocks, 66 steals, 11.5 rebounds per game, 9.5 defensive rebounds per game, and had 110.4 defensive rating. He is the first San Antonio Spur to win Defensive Player of the Year since 2015, 2016. The winner was Kawhi Leonard. Yeah, mind-blowing, right? I can't even believe Kawhi Leonard was that good at basketball defensively at one time. Meg, thank you. I feel the exact same way. I am terrible at picking teams. We should probably do a segment one day where it's like, how did you become a fan of whatever team you're a fan of? Because I feel like the story for most people is super interesting. Much like this story going on in Buffalo, I found this today, and I will read it to you, and I wanted to end the show this way because I know that the Sabres, who are up 1-0 in their series right now, are going for win number 2 tonight against the Bruins. And Rochester, Buffalo, New York is going bananas. How about this? Buffalo hasn't made the playoffs since 2011, but in 2026, during the gold medal game, they were the largest viewing U.S. market. 2015 through 2024, the Stanley Cup Finals, they were the largest local viewership in any neutral market. From 2016 to 2019, they were the third largest local viewership of any U.S. city for a complete season. Their Game 1 tickets got to as high as $464 on average because they were the projected largest market for the 2026 postseason because they were the largest market for the 2026 regular season. As Francis wrote at the bottom of this post, wanted to give him his props for bringing that to the table. They're the most passionate American hockey city, hands down. And you need to get yourself some of this Buffalo Sabres run right now because it is so much fun to watch. The fans are so excited right now. The juice is flowing. And after that 8-minute 4-goal onslaught in the third period against Boston in game number 1, I can only imagine what it's going to be like to start the day, game 2 up in Buffalo, New York. Meg, we will choose a day where we will get into why we are fans of the teams we are a fan of. For today, however, we're going to go and hopefully help Centenary Baseball win a contest. Thank you to everybody who tuned in on this Tuesday. I appreciate you. I hope we got your day started. May I say, your day is now going to be electric thanks to the Rome Show. I appreciate everybody that tunes in, especially my girl down under, Meg. Thank you. We appreciate you. Follow the show, all the places. Andrew Romanella, back tomorrow. Peace.
Thank you for listening.